Well, the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a Louisiana abortion law from taking effect. Justice Samuel Alito said the justices just need more time to review the case. The law was set to take effect Monday, but it's been put on hold until February 7th at this point. Louisiana's Unsafe Abortion Protection Act is what it's called. It seeks to put some strict regulations on abortion clinics. CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson with us now. Joey, always so glad to have you here. So what are the elements of this law that are in question for these justices?
Good morning. So backing up, what happens is that for the short term, this particular ruling by Judge Alito just says we're going to stay the decision, right? That means that we're not going to implement the decision until Thursday. And that decision they're talking about is an abortion law in Louisiana that's set to go into effect, that was passed in 2014, that limits the privileges of women, or I should say, it requires doctors to have admitting privileges at hospitals within 30 miles of an actual place that the abortion is being performed. So what happened is that you had a local justice, a district court justice at the time, and that district court justice says, hey, that's unconstitutional because you're burdening a woman's right to have an actual abortion. That is her right. And ultimately what happened was that was appealed to the Fifth Circuit, which is very conservative, I should say. 10 out of the 15 justices are Republican. And what they did was they struck down and they said, no, the law can go into effect. And now you have the Supreme Court deciding. And the ultimate question, to your point, is whether or not the law in Louisiana, as it's currently written, unduly impedes, interferes, and burdens a woman's right to choose. So that's the outstanding question. And what they're saying is that it's a law that's very similar in Texas that the Supreme Court struck down. But, you know, there's a tendency of the Fifth Circuit, again, very conservative, to find a way to distinguish their ruling, which they did from the Supreme Court ruling. And so we'll wait and see on Thursday, which is when the stay is ultimately lifted, to see what the Supreme Court does on the merits. So very important, Christy. There was no meritorious ruling at this point. The Supreme Court just said, let's put the brakes on it. We're going to evaluate all the papers, and we'll have a firm decision for you on Thursday as to whether or not this rule unduly impairs a woman's right to choose.
And with the new justices in place, what do you anticipate may happen with this? And what could be the repercussions, say, even for President Trump going into 2020?
You know, that's an outstanding question. And so let's address that. So what happened was that there was this Texas law, which was very similar in 2016. And the Texas law did quite what this law in Louisiana does. And that says that doctors need to have admitting privileges within a certain radius of actual facilities. So the Supreme Court said, can't do it. They struck it down. They said it unduly impedes a woman's right to choose. Now, here's the problem with that, Christy. At the time that the Supreme Court did that, Justice Scalia died. Remember, he died in February of 2016. The three justices who actually voted in the minority in that case, right, happened to be Alito, who issued this order, Republican, happened to be Chief Justice Roberts, a Republican, and happened also to be Clarence Thomas, a Republican. To the heart of your question, there are two new justices, Gorsuch, a Republican, in addition to Kavanaugh, who replaced, follow me, Kennedy. That was the swing vote in this Texas case that voted with the majority. So the concern is that there will be a flip, that the three justices who voted to ultimately say that, you know what, this Texas law is actually good, that those three justices now, if you join Gorsuch with them and Kavanaugh, that, you know what, this law would indeed go into effect, and the Louisiana law that actually says that it unduly impairs a right for women to choose might in fact be the law of the land. So there are significant repercussions to that. And again, in terms of the question in 2020, you know, as everyone talks about the consequences of elections, as Trump continues to stack even local courts with conservative justices, there'll be significant rulings that could impair women's right to choose.